Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Friday, April 1st, 2022. Here's what's coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Oscar producer, my alpha brother, Will Packer, is speaking publicly about what happened at the Oscars on Sunday. We'll show you what he said regarding the slap by Will Smith against Chris Rock, about also the L.A. police being ready to arrest Will Smith, and who actually wanted Will to stay to accept his Best Actor. Is the Academy lying? Will breaks it down in an exclusive with TJ Holmes of Good Morning America. Kansas City civil rights groups have long known their police department had high incidents of violence against Black and Latino people and racist hiring practices. The groups even called for a Department of Justice investigation. Now, an investigation by the local newspaper has proof. Tonight, we'll talk with the president and CEO of the Urban League of Greater Kansas City, and will tell us what happened to their plea to the DOJ. An investigative report uncovers how many police departments across the country use COVID relief funds to fund their operations. But it's supposed to be for COVID. We'll talk to the journalists who followed the money. March proved to be an excellent month for job creation, but what did it look like for African Americans? Well, you'll hear from Cecilia Rouse, chair of President Joe Biden's Council of Economic Advisors. Also, the House voted to decriminalize marijuana at the federal level. Republicans in the House also blocked the naming of a courthouse of the first Black Supreme Court justice in Florida. I told y'all they don't like Black people. And the United States issues a warning to South Sudan for not adhering to the 2018 peace agreement with Sudan. We'll have a Sudanese human rights activist who happens to be a former child slave give us an update on what's happening in between those two countries. And two Black students at Georgia State University satellite campus apparently got escorted out of class by campus cops for being 2 minutes late. We got problems here at Georgia State. And in our Education Matters segment, we'll talk to Georgia's candidate for state superintendent. Folks, it's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered, right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin.
All right, folks, a new report reveals a pattern of racial malpractice within the Kansas City Police Department ranks. Some 25 current and former Black officers with the KCPD describe a police department littered with discrimination, racist abuse, and a system that pushes Black officers out of the department while keeping the top brass primarily white. Officers say their accounts are backed by department emails, internal police memos, legal documents, lawsuits, and videos. This report was done by the Kansas City newspaper. Now several human and civil rights organizations in the Kansas City area want the Department of Justice to investigate. Gwen Grant, president and CEO of the Urban League of Greater Kansas City, joins us from there. Glad to have you here. So walk us through this. Y'all have been, of course, complaining about these things for years, but to have your newspaper break it down certainly is a little hard for them to now ignore.
You're absolutely right, Roland. And thank you for having me on to talk about this very important issue in Kansas City. We started looking at the Kansas City Police Department in 2019, actually, because we had become aware of numerous cases of excessive and deadly force, constitutional violations, patterns of systemic violations, including police-involved shootings with no accountability, biased and unreasonable searches and seizures, and racism inside the police department that has been documented over time and shared within the civil rights community by officers on the force who were afraid of fear of retaliation or being left out in the field and putting their lives at risk. So what we found is just a consistent degree of patterns and practices that we consider to be severe civil rights violations. We submitted a letter to the Department of Justice in July of 2021, requesting that they do a patterns and practices investigation of the Kansas City Police Department. We've got a bad situation here in Kansas City, and the STAR report pretty much just elevated what we've known to be going on for several years.
So what is the reaction from the city? What are elected officials saying?
Well, that's one of the major problems we have. The Kansas City is the only major city in the United States that does not have local control of its police department. So basically what we're in a 21st century colonialism situation where the governor appoints the police board. We have no redress with regard to any of the challenges we find within the Kansas City Police Department because that board is appointed by the governor and only accountable to the governor.
Okay, hold on. Wait. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to understand this here. Because I've covered city government, I've covered county government in multiple cities. Who hires the police chief?
The police board, the board that the governor appoints. But Roland, it gets worse. We pay, the taxpayers pay, we fund the police department over which we have no control.
Hold on again.
I said colonialism.
Okay, hold on. I'm trying to follow this here. So you have a city council in Kansas City.
Yes.
You have a mayor and a city council.
Yes.
Okay. Who are elected by the people.
Yes.
Okay. You've got a police board appointed by the governor that oversees the police department.
Yes.
Are the people on the police board all from Kansas City?
Yes, they are, but that's another important point. They are from Kansas City, but the governor, historically, we looked at that and we found that the governor, all governors, be they Republican or Democrat, these governors have appointed primarily white men who live in the Brookside area or west of Troost, which is basically, we have this racial dividing line in Kansas City. Troost Avenue on the east side of Troost is where you find concentrated African-American residents living there, and it's where, it's the racial dividing line. So it's like a city divided. East and west of Troost, life looks totally different. East side is Black, west side is predominantly white, upper middle class and above. So the governor appoints primarily white, male and female attorneys to the police board. We get one seat on that board, who is the mayor. So he appoints 4 of 5 members. One is the mayor. Our mayor right now happens to be Black, but unfortunately our mayor is also not been showing up in a manner that we want him to show up on our behalf with regard to the police department. But yeah, so the governor appoints lawyers. Most of the appointees of the governor, the white appointees, are attorneys, which makes sense. You're appointing people to serve and to govern over a law enforcement body. It makes sense that you would appoint an attorney. But when governors have chosen to, on the rare occasions when they have chosen to appoint an African American, they like to appoint preachers, educators, folks who are not necessarily able to hold their own in that context on that board with all of these people who are lawyers. And I find that to be insulting, that you're going to put lawyers on a board that is to govern over law enforcement, and then to represent the Black people, ask the local senator here, the person who was senator at the time, I want to appoint a Black preacher to the police board. That kind of stuff happens here.
So it's called the Kansas City Board of Police Commissioners, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Go to my computer.
We have a black chair right now.
Right. So I'm looking at it right now. So Mark Tolbert, again, to your point, Bishop Mark Tolbert, was appointed by Governor Greitens 2017. Then you have Kathy Dean. She's the vice president. We have Dan Wagner. First of all, Kathy Dean is, let's see, what the hell does she do?
She's retired attorney.
Right, she's a significant courtroom experience. We got Commissioner Don Wagner, who is a private investor. We've got Dawn Kramer,
She's a new appointee.
who worked in the airline industry and is in the financial services industry. And then we have the mayor, Quentin Lucas. The secretary of the board is David Kenner. And he was an instructor with the Henry W. Block School of Management. He was a former lawyer. So we got one white guy, one black guy, white woman, white man, white woman, and a black board. So,
yeah.
So this is the story, folks, that started this. It was in the, again, Kansas City Star. Headline, Racism in the KCPD. There's no thin blue line for black officers. Star investigation finds. Since this came out 4 days ago, what exactly is Bishop Tolbert saying?
Well, nothing. So neither the bishop nor the mayor have made a statement condemning these racist practices inside the police department since the story ran, period. Neither of the two black people who serve on that board have spoken up with outrage about this racism inside the police department. And that's really quite concerning that, we happen to have two black people on the board, but they seem to be unable to speak up and speak out against racism. So
Kansas City, know it well. My late grandmother, great-grandmother, lived there. My late aunt, my uncle, and his wife still live there. Kansas City is 30% black.
Yes.
Go back to my computer, please, folks. This is the graph that is there in the Kansas City Star paper. The police chief is white. Of the 5 deputy chiefs, 1 is black. Of 21 majors, 3 are black, 14.2%. Of the 50 police captains in the department, only 3 are black, that's 6%. Of the 223 sergeants, 25 are black, 11.2%. Of the 32 homicide detectives, 3 are black, 9.3%. Of the 22 assault detectives, 3 are black, 13.6%. Of the 213 detectives, 17 are black, 7.9%. Of the 1,144 sworn officers, only 133 are black, that is 11%. So in a city that is almost 30% black, only 11.6% of the officers, and this is what's interesting here, y'all, it's 11.6 today. In 1998, it was 12.3. So in really, y'all, in 14 or so, in 24 years, they've actually dropped.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And it's a tragic situation. So the problem also goes to the type of leadership, the outgoing police chief who started in 2017. We just, was flat out racist, and we called for him to be removed. We said that he should be terminated. We couldn't get that done in the manner that we had hoped with the 2 black members of the Board of Police Commissioners. We asked them to, hey, stand up for the people, call for this man to be fired, and work to get the 3rd vote. And neither of them would bring that motion because they said, well, we're not going to bring a motion that we can't win. And we said, you know what? Show us that you care. Go public, call for the motion, and put these other people on spot to vote it up or down. So basically, we just kept applying pressure to this police chief who refused to provide probable cause statements to the prosecuting attorney's office in any instances when officers were involved in excessive and deadly force incidents. His department they killed 3 black men, unarmed black men, in the past 12 months when prior to our submitting the letter for the DOJ investigation. And in each of those cases, when those excessive force cases took place, this chief would have those officers back on duty with weapons while these cases were being investigated within 10 days of a police-involved homicide. In less than 12 months, they killed 3 unarmed black men, and they were still able to stay on the force and be paid. In the case when they do kill black people, he also would allow for them to investigate the decedents and provide evidence against a dead person to the prosecutor before they even fully investigated the incident itself. So we've got a really bad situation here, and we have no redress because we do not have local control of our department. And that's why we need the DOJ to come in and conduct this patterns and practices investigation. You showed.
I'm trying to understand.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm trying to understand this here. So, because look, I've talked about what's happening in St. Louis as well. And let me be real clear. Missouri is weird as hell with some of these in terms of how the legislature, how they've actually passed different laws. And so, how many other cities in Missouri do not control their own police department?
None. We're the only one in Missouri.
So wait, stop. Wait.
We're the only one.
Kansas City, Missouri is the only city in Missouri where the city doesn't control its own police department, that the governor, so not even St. Louis, you're the only one that the governor appoints a board to control the police department?
Yes, but we fund them though, $269 million a year.
Does the state fund the police department?
No, the city funds our tax dollars. I actually have a suit pending. I am suing on behalf of the taxpayers in Kansas City. I am suing the Board of Police Commissioners and the City Council and the city manager, all bringing forth a suit under what's called the Hancock Amendment in Missouri, that I, as a taxpaying citizen, can make this case, hopefully, and prevail in the courts. Well, what we cannot get done at the state legislature is that we can get at least control over the budget and the spending of the department that we fund. So I have a lawsuit pending on behalf of the people to try to make that happen.
So I'm in the Star story, it says that President of the board, Mark Tolbert, the bishop, he did not respond to any request. Only Commissioner Kathy Dean responded. The mayor, no one else responded. Obviously, the Fraternal Order of Police, they ain't got the damn thing to say. So, what else are y'all doing there? Or have y'all organized community town halls? Have y'all asked? First of all, when does the police board meet?
So they meet on the second Tuesday of every month, and we actually shut down one of the police board meetings sometime last year. We shut the meeting down to bring our concerns before the board.
I think, frankly, y'all need to shut them down every Tuesday, every month. I mean, I think, if I'm in Kansas City, I'm like, yo, we gonna shut y'all down every single month until you address this issue. Y'all ain't moving on any of this. And I'll be perfectly honest, because I'm like that. Bishop couldn't have service.
Well, see, me and you are on the same page, Roland, because the fact that the 2 black officers, we got white people on that board, but first off, they already know about how this police department has killed. Our police department is ranked in the top 5 worst police departments in the country. On average, they kill 3 unarmed black men a year with impunity. And then this article comes out that further tells the story of how they are racist in the department. They profile their own black officers. And one of the stories that was released on Sunday, they profiled black officers. So if you're a Black man sitting on a board like this, how do you keep your mouth shut after that article comes out? How can you not have anything to say? And to add insult to injury, the mayor, who we supported him trying to take some control over the spending, over the funding of the police department, where the state mandate requires the city to provide 20% of its general operating budget to fund the police department. They last year got into a lawsuit issue with the city and between the city and the Board of Police Commissioners because the mayor found an ordinance to try to take control of the amount of funding that they provided the department that's over and above the 20% mandate. We backed him with that. We held a press conference on the steps of City Hall backing that move. They ultimately lost in court because, frankly, I don't think they hired the best law firm to represent them. But anyway, they lost that case. And I filed a motion to intervene in that case on behalf of the people. My motion to intervene was dismissed, which led to me ultimately filing the lawsuit that I have pending right now. But we did all of that to support this mayor. And then last week, the mayor coalesced with the chief of police and the Board of Police Commissioners to draft this ordinance to give them $33 million above the 20% mandate and not take local control over that spending, as we all fought for and tried to get them to do. So we are being misrepresented, as what we said today to the mayor. We had a meeting today to call out our concerns about this mayor. When you talk about, shutting down a church service, well, we have a collective of community-based organizations and civil rights organizations. We meet every Friday morning at 8:30 in an urban summit meeting. And we took the mayor to task in that meeting this morning, and he'll have an opportunity to come back next week and rebut or at least try to challenge it. But we are just tired of not being fully represented by our people. We feel that this mayor, we've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and misled by this man. And it's a shame to have two Black people on the board and they can't speak up about racism and discrimination on behalf of the people that they are there to represent. It's unconscionable.
Well, what we'll do is we will put calls into the mayor's office to get him on the show to respond to this article. We'll also reach out to Bishop Tolbert and he'll get a call every single day.
And they'll tell you it's a personnel issue and they can't discuss it.
Well, actually, that's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. Because as somebody who's covered city government, that's a flat out lie. I've had numerous interviews with police boards, with elected officials, with appointed officials, and so that is a lie. And so, fine, if they don't talk, then they're going to get a phone call every day. So certainly let us know. I would love to know if y'all decide to organize a citywide town hall to address this issue. So certainly keep us.
Let me ask you this: if we organize a citywide town hall, will you come in and moderate that with me, or help engage our community? Well, if you'll help me with that, we'll get that done because we need sunshine on this issue in Kansas City. One last thing about this local control issue that I will further irritate you is when we studied the history of this local control or how we ended up with local control, this was born out of a Confederate governor, a governor who decided at the beginning, early in the Civil War, that he needed to take control of the two police departments in the state where they had the highest concentration of Black people. That was St. Louis and Kansas City. Many people here think that the state took local control of the department because there was a Pendergast era where there was a lot of corruption in city government and in Kansas City. But it actually is based in the perpetuation and to protect the institution of slavery. And it was only targeted for the cities with high concentration of African Americans. So this situation here is really bad. We need you here to help us with it, Roland.
Well, this simple. Y'all shoot us 2 or 3 dates. I'll look at the date to see how that corresponds with my calendar. And then once we settle on a date, Then we do it.
We'll hook it up. I appreciate that.
All right.
We'll follow up with that.
All right. I appreciate it. Gwen Grant, thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
All right, I want to bring in my panel right now. First of all, the KCPD did issue a statement. They said, quote, "We have mechanisms in place to ensure that members can report any incident of discrimination or racism anonymously, and we take every incident of reported racism very seriously and investigate fully whether it involves department members or the members of the community." Kelly Bethea is communication strategist. Michael Imhotep is host of the African History Network show. Matt Manning, civil rights attorney. Matt, what do you make of this? First of all, the fact that you have a law where the governor is appointing members of a police board and the city people who are elected do not control is a problem.
It's a huge problem, especially as it goes to accountability, because as we've talked about on this show many times, you vote out people who aren't doing their job. So the idea that the local citizens don't even have control over their police department is absurd. But beyond that, I mean, the story that I read was chronicling an undercover officer who was determined to be an undercover officer by some of his fellow officers, a black officer, and he was berated by them and concerned that he was going to end up being hurt by making contact with his own officers. So the idea that this is a persistent problem in this department and that it's been overlooked for years is incredibly concerning. And I think this is exactly the kind of circumstance where DOJ should come in and do a patterns and practice investigation to really see what's going on. And as Gwen said, put some sunshine on this issue, because if there's 30% black people in a community and you have paltry numbers in the police department, then there's not enough to really galvanize support to make sure that those officers are being supported the way they should be. And it's happening in broad daylight, and the governor is allowing it to happen on his watch, particularly because there's no local control. So I hope DOJ comes in and does an investigation, because this is precisely right for it.
Kelly, this is the type of stuff, as you heard Gwen lay out, when you go back to the law. And I'm always trying to explain to people how we are still impacted today by Jim Crow laws. Today. When people say, oh, that stuff was so long ago, no. But that law is still in effect today.
No, you're absolutely right. I'm sorry, it was a little delayed. No, you're absolutely right. The fact that, this is happening in 2022, it should be no surprise to anyone, unfortunately. But it also goes back to the notion of how Blue Lives Mattering is a joke, because there's no such thing as a blue life. And it doesn't apply to Black people unless you conform to the whiteness and the powers that be. So for me, it goes back to not only the notion that blue lives don't matter because blue lives don't exist, but it also goes back to all skin folk and kinfolk. Like you just heard her say, how you have Black people in power who could do something, voice something, and nothing is happening. So it is imperative that people look into beyond whether the person is Black, look into their policy record, look into their voting record, actually participate in local politics so that things like this don't happen. But you're absolutely right. The laws on the books are still in effect from the Jim Crow era, which is how and why things like this are still able to happen.
It's just crazy reading this story, Michael. And This is also why communities have to be mobilized, have to be organized and mobilized to go up against this type of stuff. I'm actually texting some frat brothers who are in Kansas City right now, getting their thoughts on this. And I'm sorry, if you're the president of the board and you're a Black bishop, you need to be talking. No comment is unacceptable to me.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of this is unacceptable, but definitely no comment is unacceptable when you have an African-American man who is Bishop Talbert, I believe is his name, Mark Talbert, who's the chair of the board. But, reading this, Roland, I mean, I had so many questions. So one of the things I was trying to figure out, okay, so Civil War era law. This is one of the reasons why understanding the Civil War and reconstruction that history is so important because it still impacts us today. But is it written into the state constitution or is it state law? That's one question I have. And one of the reasons why understanding that history is so important, how it still impacts us today, impacts the laws, is because if you go to Brunswick, Georgia, the citizens arrest law that the three white supremacists used to make up after the fact, after Ahmaud Arbery was killed, that citizens arrest law dates back to 1863, when Georgia was part of the Confederacy, and there was a law to target runaway slaves who were running away from plantations in Georgia to run behind Union lines. So that legacy of the Civil War and Reconstruction is still with us today. This is why it's so important to understand history and law, because they intersect and they impact everything that we do. So yeah, hopefully they get the DOJ involved in this. But the other thing I want to know is local TV news stations. I saw the article from the Kansas City Star. For local Kansas City TV news stations, I wonder what type of pressure they're putting on the department, because a lot of times that local news exposes a lot of this stuff and puts pressure on them to bring about some type of change.
Absolutely. And so I'm actually about to text also the brother who runs the Kansas City newspaper there. And so to get his thoughts on this as well. So we'll definitely continue to cover this and give y'all folks updates on this particular story. All right, folks, we got to go to a break. We come back, we're going to talk about what's happening in South Sudan. Why are we doing that? Because mainstream media want to focus only on Ukraine. We also going to talk about what's happening with black folks in Africa, where you have a humanitarian crisis happening there as well. Folks, you heard me say to Gwen there that I certainly will come in and I'll moderate the town hall and we'll actually broadcast that town hall. This is precisely why it's important for you to support Roland Martin Unfiltered. I just went to our mailbox today. All of this, these are all checks and cards that were in the mailbox. This all came in just this week, and so these are notes here that we read. Some of these we read of people who've actually sent in stuff already. And so now you understand when I'm talking about why it's important for you to support what we do. I can guarantee you, I was on the call today with our sales team, we're putting lots of pressure on these advertisers to provide the resources. I'm laying the things out all the time. And I've said to y'all, the numbers are clear. MSNBC makes about $700 million a year. Let me say it again. MSNBC's profit is around $600 to $700 million a year. CNN's profit is $1 billion a year. Fox News' profit, not revenue, profit, is $1.5 billion a year. That's why they can have 200 and 300 correspondents and crews and cover people's stuff all across the world and send people all around the places and fly folks on private jets when it comes to breaking news. And a whole bunch of people out here claiming to be new black media, they don't cover the news. They talk about the news. They talk about what other people do. They talk about what other people are talking about. Well, our goal is to actually create the nation's largest black newsroom to cover the issues that matter to us. And so your support is critically important. Cash and money orders, you can go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037. Cash app is $RM Unfiltered. That's important. Please listen to me again. $RM Unfiltered. Please don't lose sight of that, because we've got some folks out there who are thieves. I'm going to show you their names in a second. But PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And so when you support us, we, of course, are supporting you. And so let me help y'all out, y'all. I have already reported these people to Cash App. Cash App responded to me. These are individuals right now on Cash App who are trying to steal from you. There's no reason in the world for these people to have Cash App names similar to this show. So you see this Dr. Frank, RM Unfiltered, REB, this Jonathan Bravo or whatever, RM Unfiltered with 2 L's, Mr. Crimmins, RM Unfiltered, took the E out, Unfiltered, and then this other one, this RM Unfiltered, and then this one here. So these right here, these individuals here are all fraudulent accounts. I want y'all to see this again. These are fraudulent accounts. If you are on Cash App, I want you to report these individuals. I'm going to show you their names again later in the show, but I want you to report every single one of these individuals because what they are doing is they are trying to steal from you. They're trying to steal from the people who are supporting this show. These are no good son of a bitches. And I got no problem because if you are using our name to steal, then what you are trying to do is to steal from black people, people who just might sit here and they'll see something and they think that's ours. Our Cash App, this is not our Cash App. None of these are. Ours is $RM Unfiltered. So please report every single one of these people. And I'm going to show it again later in the show. Got to go to a break. We'll be back on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
I'm Deborah Owens. On the next Get Wealthy, meet Dr. Stacy McCoy, whose American dream became a nightmare because of student loan debt.
Whether you're paying $300 a month or eventually I got up to $1,700 a month.
Wait a minute. Hold that for just a minute. You were paying $1,700 a month on your student loans?
Yes, and I know other people who are paying more than that.
Learn the one piece of advice that made all of it go away. Right here on Get Wealthy on Black Star Network.
These are the only bins that will accommodate larger rollerboards.
They put 10 in here?
10, and you don't come out till you die. And you eat him, you eat 10.
Oh my God. All right, folks, part 5 of our special from Ghana airs right after our show right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. It's been phenomenal series thus far. So you be sure, as soon as we get done, stay with us to check out part 5 of our docuseries, The Year of Return, 1619 to 2019. We'll be back in a moment.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Godfrey, the funniest dude on the planet.
Hey, I'm Taj.
According to the various reports, South Sudan's leadership is now not following parts of a 2018 peace deal. Now the United States is threatening to impose more sanctions on those perpetuating the conflict. Joining me now is Simon Ding, a Sudanese human rights activist who is very familiar with what's happening there. Simon, glad to have you here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. I reached out to my man, Joe Madison. He passed me your name. So much attention has been on the Ukraine and what's happening there. Explain to our listeners and viewers what is happening in South Sudan. What's going on? Is Simon, is he frozen? Folks, is his signal frozen? All right, y'all let me know we have Simon back.
I don't hear the voice.
There you go, Simon, there you go. You're there, go ahead.
I hear you, but I don't hear.
Can you hear me, Simon? Simon, can you hear me?
Yes, I do hear you, Ron.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yes.
Good. So explain to our folks watching and listening what's happening in South Sudan.
Rollins, what happened in Southern Sudan is a disaster that the international community and the world in large turn a blind eye at the country that being created by the United States. In other words, Southern Sudan is the only country in East Africa that was created by the United States of America. If it wasn't the United States, we would not have a country, a younger nations in the world today that called Southern Sudan. After 2 years of independence, the president of Southern Sudan, Salva Kiir Mayardit, took the country into the war that worse than the war we fought with the North. In 2 years' time, Salva Kiir managed to slaughter 500,000 Southern Sudanese. Today, at the moment we're speaking, Southern Sudan is the worst place on earth, with 6 million Southern Sudanese are refugees. Largest and biggest refugees compare at the time when we were fighting for war of independence. You have 2 million Southern Sudanese refugees in Uganda. You have 2.5 million went back to Sudan at the moment we're speaking. And millions between Ethiopia, Kenya, Central African Republic, and Congo. We have hundreds of thousands Southern Sudanese are being protected for 8 years by the United Nations Protection Peacekeeper inside Southern Sudan, including Juba, Malacan, Wow, Jungle, even Bantu. It never happened in the history of the world where people are being protected in their own country by United Nations, and it happened in Southern Sudan. What are we talking about today? We're talking about Ukraine. Yes, the suffering of every human being, it is a concern of all of us. Southern Sudan, it is worse than Syria. It is worse than the Ukraine when we're talking about. This is the magnitude of the crime being created by the sitting presidents, and the world turned a blind eye. And by the way, I have a living proof of being part of advocates who was fighting and making Americans get involved to help Southern Sudanese to bring peace between the North and the South. I know for sure the United States have a moral obligations of a country they created. If it wasn't them, we would not have a country called Southern Sudan today. Probably if we were being left in the hand of the North, we will be better off. 500,000 that perished in 2 years under Salva Kiir Mayardit, they would be alive. Imagine when you have 2.5 million Southern Sudanese went back to the North, a place where they ran away for brutalization of Islamization and Arabization. Then now they went back. It is a better place for them today instead of being under the brutality of President Salva Kiir. That is what is happening in Southern Sudan today.
Obviously, it should pain you that you're seeing so much attention being paid to Ukraine, folks raising money, offering scholarships for students there as well. What do you want Americans, African Americans, the international community, what are you telling them that they should be doing for the people in South Sudan?
Brother Aaron, if it wasn't the United States, we would not have a Southern Sudan today. And especially the African American. We have brothers who was part of helping Southern Sudanese. They're still with us, people like Joe Madison's and the others. Even including in New York here, we have people like Al Sharpton who went with us to liberate the slavery in Southern Sudan from the hand of the North back to the Southern Sudan. We have more we can do. As I said before, the world today went to rescue Ukraine. Yes, I personally, I am volunteer to do something to help the Ukrainian. But why nobody is volunteer to do something for me, knowing that the refugees of Ukraine today will not be compared to the refugees in Southern Sudan. The killing of Ukraine today, it will not be compared to killing in Southern Sudan. In other words, we have to urge the United States, including the President Biden, Salva Kiir have to be held accountable. You cannot replace 7 million, 6 million, kill 500,000. And then you are now trying to call yourself a legitimate president. People of Southern Sudan, they suffer in the hand of the Southern Sudanese government, in the hand of Salva Kiir, more than suffering that they were under the North.
Questions from my panel. Michael, I'm going to take you first.
All right. Thanks, Brother Simon, for coming on and sharing this information with us. You know, this is really, it's really important to cover this because there's so much coverage on Ukraine and there's so much devastation happening on the continent of Africa also that doesn't get covered. Can you just talk briefly about how the U.S. helped create South Sudan? We know South Sudan split from Sudan. Okay.
Yes.
Can you just talk briefly about that history? Because a lot of people don't know about this.
You know, when I came to this country, I come purposely to come to people of America. Indeed, we did got help from the capitals, and especially under the times of President Bush, in which I met 2 times in the White House, in which he assured me, seeing the Northern Sudanese blame the slavery on the war, we are going to make peace. And indeed, he kept his promise. He kept everything he told to me, in which the United States Congress passed the Sudan Peace Act, passed by the Senate, signed into law by the President of the United States, in which the President of the United States designates a former Senator John Danforth to go to Africa to forge the peace between the Northern Sudanese and the Southern Sudanese. Late Colin Powell was part of the party who was pushed that peace, and that peace was being produced in Naivasha and Nairobi, which become known in Sudan as a comprehensive peace agreement. United States, because for him to have peace, they put $11 billion. These are the taxpayers, in which that they have a responsibility. And I call it today, Southern Sudan is an American baby. And indeed, as I said, because I was there, if it was not the United States, we would not have Southern Sudan. After the independence, what happened? The U.S. walked away. Unfortunately, it happened during the administration of President Barack Obama, which is very unfortunately. We have people like Susan Wright. They were there. She was there with me in Juba. I was one of the people who received her when he went there during the independence, in which that he made eloquent speech during the independence. But what happened after that? They wash their hands, they walk away, and then turn the country in the hands of people who don't know how to balance the books, to run the country without accountability. The $11 billion, we just give them to appoint the President Kiir with part of his administration. They went and stolen $4 billion, disappeared in the hands of individuals. And the U.S., you telling me that they should not hold people accountable by stealing the money that was given not to them, for the people of Southern Sudan, to do the infrastructure, to be even to rehabilitate people who suffer for 20, 25 years. Nobody hold them accountable. And unfortunately, Barack Obama let people of Southern Sudan down.
I'm going to go to Kelly next. Simon, I think the light in your office went out.
Yeah, let me just turn it on.
Yeah, go ahead and turn it back on. So, but Kelly, go ahead. But when Simon comes back, be sure to ask your question. So I just want to make sure that we're all good here. So just give us 1 second.
Right.
Simon comes back. Again, folks, critically important information that we're getting, because all too often in the United States, there literally is no coverage of these issues. And all too often, again, if it's, let's just be honest, if it's a white country, all of a sudden it's of America's concern. And so it is important that we shine the light on this. That's what Claude Barnett's Negro Associated Press did back in the day with their news service, and that's why it's important that our voices do the same. And so I thank Joe Madison for sending Simon my way. So there we go, Simon, you're there. Kelly, go ahead and ask your question of Simon.
Yes, thank you for coming on the show. This entire situation mirrors very closely, at least to me, yet another example of failed nation building on behalf of the U.S. So with that said, do you think that this crisis is America's fault in total? Or did America just exacerbate an issue that was already bubbling underneath the surface, so to speak? And in either situation, whether you think, this country is completely at fault or whether we just contributed to the crisis, what steps need to be taken on behalf of this country to make sure that South Sudan is made as whole as possible?
And I have to give you my honest opinions and the honest answer. Yes, indeed. The United States created Southern Sudan, in which they should have whole Southern Sudan to a point where they will be able to walk by themselves. They will be able to even to know how to balance the books by themselves. But unfortunately, the United States put itself or herself in a position of delivering a baby and hand it to the mom and walk away without even knowing what kind of situation will emerge during after the birth. United States, as I said, for all those years, when atrocity being committed, we are talking 8 years now. All they have to do, always threat, talk. I don't believe in talk. I believe in walk to walk. The way we did walk and create broad peace between the North and the South, the United States would have done that in a very simple way, by holding those rulers of Southern Sudan. Hey, you didn't come here by yourself. You came here with our help. And we help you not because of you, we help because of people of Southern Sudan. In other words, all these leaders of Southern Sudan, so-called rulers, each person of them have a big mansion in Nairobi, have a big mansion in Kampala. And people like John Fanegas, George Cooney, they document all these things, but no action being taken on the top of the country, on the leadership of people who created Southern Sudan. They documented what atrocity being committed. They documented how much the resources being looted by the president. And then when they always trying to take action, what will they do? Sanctions just the doorkeepers, sanction the bodyguard. Why not sanctioning President Kiir himself? The man that happened to be part of the problem, he created a war in 2013 by calling it that there is a coup, which was not. The African Union made a commission led by the former president of Nigeria, Obasanjo. The result was there to everybody's eyes. There was no coup. It was Salva Kiir himself created a problem to divest that, because some of his leaders in his own party was holding him to telling that, no, we are going to go for elections, then you will not be elected. And that's all. But he wants to stay in power. And then who paid the price? 500,000 died, was killed by him. The slaughter, which is being identified by the United Nations as a genocide. In 2013, when the unit under the President Kiir bodyguard went and slaughtered one ethnic groups, Noir in Juba, door by door. Up to today, we have those who run, who escape, that are being protected by the United Nations in Juba. Where did we ever hear that there are citizens being protected by a foreign country in their own country because they are afraid of their own government? Salva Kiir, it is not a leader of people of Southern Sudan. Salva Kiir is the leader of the tribe. Salva Kiir even went beyond by turning on my ethnic group, the Shulu Kingdoms, taking our land and giving it to the Dinka tribes, which today the entire Shulu Kingdom, the oldest kingdom in Sudan and Southern Sudan. We are now in the Northern Sudan. There is no single one, especially in my entire family, in Southern Sudan. We are in the North. In the North, in a situation where you cannot even look at yourself as a human being, because we are not being considered as citizens, we are refugees, we have no being employed. Southern Sudanese kids, our nieces, selling their body in the street in Khartoum because of Salva Kiir. These men, I'm begging the U.S. have to look in their conscience and hold these men accountable of the crime that he committed on innocent people that he denied the dividend of peace. We brought the independence of that country. We fought for that country for independence. After we got the independence, what will happen? Salva Kiir become the most master person on earth. He is ruling. I think he took the page from Joseph Stalin by manipulating international. He deceived the U.S., he deceived the UN, he deceived African Union, and even he deceived the IGAD. At the moment we're speaking, he will sign peace and he will not implement peace. He will sign another peace, he will not implement peace. To a point he went where even the Pope called him. And Pope went and washed his feet and kissed his feet to go back and implement the peace agreement. What did he do? He went back and he talked about this agreement. It is not a Bible. This agreement, it is not a Quran, cannot be implemented. It's very complicated. Why nobody asking him? What you see today, and you didn't see that at the time when you signed peace agreement. Your team was there to ratify that agreement, and now you're turning on us. This is the third time. The third agreement, Salva Kiir is refused. And we're looking at him, my fellow human being.
Right.
There is no peace will be to the people of Southern Sudan as long as that man is sitting on them.
Well, Simon, we're going to continue to keep our focus on this issue. I can assure you of that. I was a participant in a African-American media roundtable a couple of days ago with United States senators. Joe Madison was very specific in asking and challenging those senators with regards to what's happening in South Sudan, what's happening in Ethiopia, what's happening in Cameroon as well. And so I assure you we're going to continue doing that. We thank you for your involvement.
Before you leave, I want to say something.
Go ahead.
You know, there is a double standard in the world. When the crime happens in the black country in the continents, we don't see because they're so far away. They are black, we will not see them. If elsewhere, we will be there, unfortunately. But I'm appealing to my brothers and sisters. Please, the world become very smaller. I, as Simon, as a former slave, I never thought I would be talking to you today. But I'm blessed. That's why I'm here as the voice of those who have no voice at home. Thank you.
Simon, I appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you, brother. All
right, folks, going to a break. We come back, we talk about how your money, your taxpayer money, you know, that was supposed to be used for COVID relief, why in the hell have been cities just using it for police departments? That kind of makes no sense. Yeah, we're going to talk about it next. Don't forget, download the Black Star Network app, folks. All of the platforms, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Xbox One, Samsung, Smart TV as well. YouTube, folks, y'all are slow. Hit the like button. I told y'all I shouldn't have to be asking y'all this. We should easily be at 1,000 likes on YouTube. Be sure to hit that like button. And don't forget, if y'all want to support us, please join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible for us to do what we do, to cover the news the way we do it. Independent. I told you, we ain't got no billionaires and millionaires sending us checks. And so you matter. And so P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. And I told y'all, don't forget, these thieves right here are trying to steal your money on Cash App. I want y'all to report every single one of them. These 6 people, they are trying to steal your money. And so I'm showing y'all all their names right now. Report every single one of them. Cash App did email me back today. They are investigating. I'm trying to get every single one of these thieves shut down for trying to steal your dollars. Folks, I'll be right back.
On the next A Balanced Life, as we grind down to the end of another long winter, it's easy to slip out of balance and into the foggy doldrums. On the next A Balanced Life, ways to push through the gray days until the warm days of spring arrive. Join me, Dr. Jackie, on A Balanced Life on Black Star Network.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks. Independent journalist Brian Dalliner wrote the piece called "It's a Money Grab: Billions in COVID Relief Going to Fund Police and Prisons." He follows the money right into the hands of law enforcement. What the hell? He joins me now from Urbana, Illinois. Brian, glad to have you here. I remember seeing the story where the mayor of Chicago said that, things are just so tough for police officers and they're just going through so much. And so we're going to use this money to create a wellness opportunity for them and all of that. But walk folks through how crazy money that was supposed to be for residents fighting COVID, we're funding cops in prisons.
That's right, Roland. Thanks for having me on. It's no April Fool's joke. There's millions and billions of dollars being spent on police. And Chicago is some $281 million. That's like 45% of the city budget is being spent to fund the Chicago police, which, as you know, have a notorious history of brutality in the Black community in Chicago. This is happening in LA as well. In LA, there's some 300 plus million that was given out to the LAPD. No shortage of police scandals there either. So it's a big handout here that is going out to police. And as you noted, it's quite ironic. This is money that's set aside to help communities, small businesses, impacted communities. The Black community was really torn apart in some places, like 40% of deaths in the early stages of COVID. 40% of deaths were in the Black community. So I talked to activists. They believe that 40% of COVID money should go back to the communities and not to the police.
See, this is the thing that happens in America. All of these people whining and complaining about defund the police when we're talking about resources. And I swear, I ain't never heard a police department say, y'all know what? We got enough money. We good. Y'all have given us enough money. It's always more. It's always the answer to everything. But then anything else in the city, it's, hey, sorry, we ain't got it. We out.
That's right. And so there's a real chance now, I think, for activists in the community to struggle over this money, to fight over the money. I really appreciated your segment on Kansas City. I'm from Kansas myself, so I know the Kansas City police, and there's a large, significant Black community there, historic Black community. And I was just digging up the numbers there. They have some $260 million allocated in the recent 2022-23 budget. 269 million are allocated to the police. A chunk of that is coming out of ARPA funds. This often gets hidden under personnel, but these are handouts to the police, to recruiting to police, for overtime. And this is fattening already fat budgets, as you know.
Questions from my panelists. Matt, you're first.
And it was fantastic. What I wanted to ask you was, how are these police departments and prisons getting this money that is intended for COVID relief? How are they going about doing that? I'm assuming it's through a grant process, but what are they having to claim justifies them getting money that is obviously earmarked for COVID relief, number one? And by contrast with that, how are other communities that are using it to beef up mental health resources and some of the alternatives to policing, how are they getting the money in those instances?
Yeah, right, thanks. So it's a two-part piece here. Like in Alabama, they're just using the money. They got the money, so in Alabama, they're planning on spending $400 million on 3 new prisons. That's a prison project that the governor's been stumping for several years now. And now that there's this big influx of cash due to COVID relief federal funding, they're pushing through on funding these new prisons. I talked to activists on the ground, and it's folks with the Alabama Justice Initiative, that's LaTanya Tate, and I talked to Veronica Johnson from my article, and they fought it. They went around to the small towns in Alabama and fought the prison proposal and stopped it, and yet still the state and the governor is going through with their plans. They appealed to the U.S. Treasury Department. The Treasury Department came out and said you can't use the money on prisons, and the governor is still moving forward. So far, at least, the Biden administration has not stepped in to intervene in Alabama. So this potentially gives a green light to all other states, jurisdictions, to use this money pretty much willy-nilly, however they want to. Now, there are some cases where there are smaller amounts of money that people are struggling, fighting for. I talked to people in South Bend, Indiana, who are using millions of dollars to open up a crisis center that police, instead of taking people to jail, they'll be able to take people to this crisis center. So there are ways. In my own community, I live in Illinois, in Urbana-Champaign, Illinois. We have a reentry program here. They got around $1 million from the local city government in order to support a reentry program. That's a program that's in great need here in Illinois. So there are ways in which people are struggling to get the money back. I really like to, in my journalism, to highlight people on the ground who are really fighting the good fight to try to get the money in the right hands. But it's going to be a fight everywhere.
Kelly?
Yeah. How is this not fraud? How are these entities able to do this? Because, and I'm sure you recall, there was what felt like a campaign against people who misappropriated PPP loan money, and disguised themselves as LLCs and other, corporate entities trying to get loan money from the government during COVID-19. And it just felt like people were like the chickens were coming home to roost, and all of that money was getting grabbed back to the government and they were being jailed. So how are you able to, as a government, misappropriate funds on an application that is what I'm assuming to be quite specific as regarding how to spend it? How is this not fraud?
Yeah, well, the federal government hasn't really stepped in to provide any kind of discretionary measures to prevent this. So budgets, they're just putting this under some personnel costs, a general fund, and it's starting to come out. It's coming out bit by bit about what this money's being spent on. So there was just another story that came out this week that several departments are using this to purchase police drones. And other police technology like automated license plate readers, and even President Biden has promoted these shot spotters. They're supposed to detect gunshots, and they're highly flawed technology. But we have to question the Biden administration. We know that Biden back in the 90s supported the crime bill, was the architect of the crime bill. And so I think many activists saw this coming and are quite disappointed, but maybe not surprised that this is all allowed to go on under the Biden administration.
Michael?
All right, Brian. Hey, thanks for writing this article and coming to share this information with us today. So I have a lot of questions, but one of the questions that I have is, what has been the response from members of Congress, especially Democrats in Congress, but you have Republicans that represent, Alabama as well, but especially Democrats, because no Republicans voted for the American Rescue Plan, even though it benefited a lot of people in America, a lot of Republicans. No Republicans voted for it. So what has been the response from members of Congress, especially Democrats, in how this money is apparently being misused for police departments?
Well, it's mostly widespread denial, I think. Biden has come out in the State of Union address claiming that he's proposing another $30 billion for police, and against claims, and campaigns over the last 2 years that the call to defund the police. The Democrats have done a 180, and after kneeling with Kente Cloths after George Floyd was killed by Minneapolis police, now they're going around saying we don't need to defund the police, we need to fund the police, and they're allocating billions for it, and they're lining up behind Biden and other candidates for the midterms. So the Democrats have really turned their back on advocates in the streets who have been calling for police reform. Keep in mind here, these are, in LA and Chicago, in Kansas City, police budgets make up 40-50% of the total city budget. So when we talk about defunding the police, we're talking about reducing these huge budgets for the police. While there's some people have taken first steps, in most all cities, there's been very little progress made. And by Democratic and Republican Party leadership, there's been really no advocacy for what's going on in the streets. I mean, we have another summer coming up here in 2022. Are there going to be more police killings of Black youth? We're likely to see it again. And we're just going to keep playing out this narrative and keep watching these videos until there's some real change.
All right, then. You're right. Look, what you have Democrats is trying to respond, midterm elections, they're freaking out. Conservatives are hitting them, talking about the whole crime is skyrocketing, and they're just racing to throw more money at the cops. But it's not, again, being spent properly and wisely. And so we'll keep the pressure going on. Great reporting there. Folks, go to, pull it up, please. Go to theappeal.org, theappeal.org. We've had several of their stories up before. They do some great work covering the critical issues dealing with, again, criminal justice reform, what's happening out there, protesting as well. So theappeal.org. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Roland.
All right, folks, going to a break. We come back. Our Black and Missing, some breaking news involving Will Smith. Will Packer speaks exclusively to Good Morning America. We'll show you that. And also, you'll hear from Dr. Cecilia Rouse, the top economic advisor to President Joe Biden. She talks about the great job numbers, the report that came out today. Folks, a lot more here. And yes, y'all heard me last night. Y'all know I made it to the New Edition Charlie Wilson concert last night. No ticket, but I am Uncle Roro. We'll be back in a moment.
Over the window seats. These are the only bins that will accommodate larger roller boards.
They put 10 in here?
10, and you don't come out till you die. And you eat him, you hoop 10.
Oh my God.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
On the next A Balanced Life, as we grind down to the end of another long winter, it's easy to slip out of balance and into the foggy doldrums. On the next A Balanced Life, ways to push through the gray days until the warm days of spring arrive. Join me, Dr. Jackie, on A Balanced Life on Black Star Network.
All right, folks, Black and Missing, y'all. Kennedy Guillory, last seen in Lake Charles, Louisiana on January 30th. January 30th. The 16-year-old is 5 feet 6 inches tall, weighs 120 pounds, with brown hair, brown eyes. Anyone with information on Kennedy Guillory's whereabouts, please call the Lake Charles, Louisiana Police Department at 337-491-1311. 337-491-1311. All right, folks, some breaking news here. Just in, Will Smith has resigned from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences as a result of him slapping Chris Rock Sunday at the Academy Awards. Of course, the Academy, they have launched an investigation, and as a result, they have done this. This is the statement that Will Smith has released as a result of this. Give me a second. I'm just going to go in and try to see if I can share this screen. Just give me 1 second, folks. I want to show you this. I'm reading from a story in Variety as they talk about, as they have the Will Smith story here. He says, the list of those I have hurt is long and includes Chris, his family, many of my dear friends and loved ones, all those in attendance and global audiences at home. I betrayed the trust of the Academy. I deprived other nominees and winners of their opportunity to celebrate and be celebrated for their extraordinary work. I am heartbroken. That is the, and then it says, Smith also acknowledged that his actions overshadowed other winners at the 94th Annual Academy Awards. I want to put the focus back on those who deserve attention for their achievements and allow the Academy to get back to the incredible work it does to support creativity and artistry in film. It's concluded, he stated, concluding with change takes time. I'm committed to doing the work to ensure I never again allow violence to overtake reason. Now today on Good Morning America, an exclusive interview with TJ Holmes, Oscar producer Will Packer sat down and shared his thoughts on what happened on Sunday night. Here is some of what he said.
I said, watch this. He's going to kill. Because I knew he had an amazing lineup of jokes that we had. We had him in the prompter. And ultimately, he did not get to one joke. He didn't tell one of the planned jokes. He was just immediately freestyling. But I tell you, if there's anybody that you don't worry about going out in front of a live audience and riffing off the cuff, it's Chris Rock. Nobody's better. And I thought this was part of something that Chris and Will were doing on their own. I thought it was a bit. I thought it was a bit like everybody else. I knew he hadn't practiced it.
Not concerned.
I wasn't concerned at all.
As he's walking.
I figured, okay, you know, he's going to say something or come at him. Something funny is going to happen because that's the nature of Chris and that's the nature of Will. So let's see what happens. Once I saw Will yelling at the stage with such vitriol, my heart dropped. And I just remember thinking, oh no, not like this. And Chris was keeping his head when everybody else was losing theirs. And then, you know, gave the quote.
That was
Greatest night in the history of television. Okay.
But my heart at that point was just in my stomach because of everything about it and what it represented and what it looked like and who was involved. All of that was just, I've never felt so immediately devastated. Like the LAPD made it clear, we will do whatever you want us to do. And one of the options is that we will go and arrest him right now. They were saying, you know, this is battery was the word they used in that moment. They said, we will go get him. We are prepared. We're prepared to get him right now. You can press charges. We can arrest him. They were laying out the options. And as they were talking, Chris was being very dismissive of those options. He was like, no, I'm fine. He was like, no. And even to the point where I said, Rock, let him finish. The other officers finished laying out what his options were. And they said, you know, would you like us to take any action? And he said no. Shayla told me that they were about to physically remove Will Smith. And I had not been a part of those conversations. And so I immediately went to the Academy leadership that was on site, and I said, Chris Rock doesn't want that. I said, Rock has made it clear that he does not want to make a bad situation worse. That was Chris's energy. His tone was not retaliatory. His tone was not aggressive and angry. And so I was advocating what Rock wanted in that time, which was not to physically remove Will Smith at that time, because as it has now been explained to me, that was the only option at that point. It has been explained to me that there was a conversation that I was not a part of to ask him to voluntarily leave. I probably have a different perspective on that, TJ, because I was in the room and I know a lot of those people. And so it wasn't like this was somebody they didn't know. It doesn't make anything that he did right and doesn't excuse that behavior at all. But I think that the people in that room who stood up for somebody who they knew, right? Who was a peer, who was a friend, who was a brother, who has a 3 decades plus long career of being the opposite of what we saw in that moment. I think these people saw the person that they know and were hoping that somehow, some way, this was an aberration. He's going to stand on stage and maybe Chris Rock comes from the back and says, we got you all, you know. I don't think that these were people that were applauding anything at all about that moment. And all these people saw their friend at his absolute worst moment and were hoping that they could encourage him and lift him up and that he would somehow try to make it better.
I mean, this is... Today is Friday. Today is Friday. Hey, Kelly, what I said on Monday, I said, I hope Will meets with Chris face-to-face on Tuesday, by Tuesday, to personally apologize. I said, otherwise, I know what's about to happen. This is going to be a constant media firestorm. The thing that I am always trying to tell people, it's like, yo, I've been in this news business my entire life. And every action, everything that happens, if another thing happens, it's another news cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And so Monday's news cycle was the slap. Tuesday's news cycle was the apology. Wednesday's news cycle was the Academy saying they asked him to leave, we knew they were lying. Then we saw the other stories, and then Thursday. So now here we are Friday, and now there's the investigation. And then now the members of the Academy are hot because apparently on Tuesday, there was a 6-minute Zoom between Will and the president and the CEO of the Academy, or the chair, and they didn't tell anybody. It's back and forth. And again, this is the thing that Chris has his show in Boston. He speaks about a minute on the whole deal. It goes on, and people keep saying, like, as a matter of fact, there was a tweet from Questlove where he was like, "Can we end this?" It ain't gonna end. It's not going to end until literally they finish their investigation and you have some resolution, if you will, to what's going on. Kelly, go ahead.
Like Questlove, I am tired of talking about this situation, but it is in the news cycle, so we're going to do it. This entire situation is just unfortunate, but most importantly, not even because Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, but this might have been one of, if not the most Black-oriented Oscar ceremony we've ever had in its 94-year history. And no one's going to remember anything except these two Black men acting a fool on stage. Really, one Black man acting a fool on stage and another Black man receiving said foolery. That is the most unfortunate part about all of it. It is sad and it is disgraceful in that regard. And I don't mean disgraceful in the sense that, it made Black people look bad. I'm not into the respectability politics of it all. I'm really into the fact that this one moment stole so many other amazing moments that night. Regina Hall and Wanda Sykes on the same stage doing what they do best. No one's going to remember that. Questlove winning an Oscar for his documentary that, by all accounts, is absolutely phenomenal. No one's going to remember that. The first openly queer Afro-Latino won an Oscar that night. No one even knows that. All we are talking about is Will Smith and Chris Rock. And it is infuriating to me that so many people's moments were stolen because of one man's stupidity. That is just so unfortunate to me and just wrong.
This is the tweet that Questlove sent out this morning. Can we finally stop talking about it? Here's the deal. The reality, Michael, is that people are not. And this is the thing that I kept trying to explain to people. I mean, the level of energy when you're talking about two of the biggest names in entertainment. I mean,
right.
Chris Rock is literally embarking on a world tour with Kevin Hart. Two comic legends, the two biggest in comedy right now, on a tour together around the world, sold out shows around the world. Then you have the biggest movie star. Folks, listen to me. The acting chops of Denzel, phenomenal. Denzel cannot touch the box office and mass appeal of Will Smith. Rapper, TV show, big screen star. Will's got stuff on National Geographic. He's doing stuff with YouTube, all of that. Those forces collide on a show that is seen in 100+ countries worldwide. Folks are gonna keep talking about it. And then every action, again, the apology, story. Academy investigation, story. Right. Will's interview, story. Will Packer's interview, story. His resignation, story. Jada's tweet about healing, story. It is the nature of where we are.
It's a huge story, Roland. It's a tragedy. I started covering this Monday night on the African History Network show. I didn't deal with the Tuesday. I dealt with the Wednesday and Thursday. We know that a formal review was launched by the Academy on Monday. I think Will Smith. There was a report from either New York Daily News or New York Post. I've read so many articles that said that Will Smith has been on edge the past few months because of stories in the media about he and Jada's relationship. Okay, and with I watched it. I watched Will's acceptance speech live when I got finished doing my show Sunday night. I watched it live. And I was hoping that he would apologize to Chris Rock in the acceptance speech, and he did not. And I was, even though he put out an apology on, I think it was either Monday or Tuesday, he put out an apology on Instagram. He has not talked to Chris Rock in person or over the phone or something like that to apologize. So it was a fantastic interview that Will Packer did this morning. It helped to, I think, clear up some misinformation that's been floating around on social media. I wish he had done the interview here on Roland Martin Unfiltered, but he did it on Good Morning America. Also, in that interview, I didn't hear anything in that interview that said the Academy lied either. From the reporting that I've read, and I've read numerous articles on this, there was one group of leaders in the Academy that wanted Will Smith to leave. There was another group that didn't want him to leave, and they're arguing back and forth, and they're arguing with Will's representatives also. So, this is really an example of how even someone who has what many people think they want to have, the wealth, the Academy Award, the success, more money, more problems. You still got problems. Also.
Well, and that's the thing that people don't quite don't understand, don't get. The thing here. Give me a second, because I actually found the actual full statement. What he said was that do not pull it up, please. I'm trying to remove this email from the top. So just hold on. Okay, there we go. Here we go. First of all, he said, I have directly responded to the Academy's disciplinary hearing notice, and I will fully accept any and all consequences for my conduct. My actions at the 94th Academy Awards presentation were shocking, painful, and inexcusable. And then that's when he goes on to say, the list of those I have hurt is long and includes Chris, his family, many of my dear friends and loved ones, all those in attendance and in global audiences at home. I betrayed the trust of the Academy. I deprived other nominees and winners of their opportunity to celebrate and be celebrated for the extraordinary work. I am heartbroken. I want to put the focus back on those who deserve attention for their achievements and allow the Academy to get back to the incredible work it does to support creativity and artistry in film. So I am resigning from membership in the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences and will accept any further consequences the board deems appropriate. Change takes time, and I am committed to doing the work to ensure that I never again allow violence to overtake reason. Matt, here's the deal. People are already asking, no, this does not mean that Will Smith can't act. No, you don't have to actually be a member of the Academy to be able to act. What it means is he is not a voting member of the Academy when it comes to the folks, when it comes to not for the Oscars. What it also means is, depending upon what the board decides, he's still eligible to be nominated for awards in the future. But the reality here, Matt, and I got people who are saying, well, why are you still talking about it? Because the reality is, it is still news. It is still a news story. So whether we like it or not, it is still a news story. That's what it is, Matt.
It's a news story. It's a news story involving two of the biggest entertainers in the world, as you said. And I think it's a news story that sheds a light on some of the things that we talk about here, including criminal justice. I'm a big Will Smith fan. I always have been. But the reality is he committed a crime in front of millions of people and was not arrested. The fact that LAPD went and asked whether they wanted him arrested is crazy if you think about it, because people get arrested all the time for things that are on video, and police develop probable cause days later and go hook them up. So I don't say that to make an indictment of Will Smith as much as I say it to say this is an interesting situation, and a situation that is obviously news because of who's involved. But it's also a situation that shows that, kind of to Michael's point, everything that glitters ain't gold. But the reality is this doesn't happen to an average person. If you went up to somebody and slapped them at their job on a surveillance video, wherever you are, the police are coming and hooking you up. They didn't hook up Will Smith because he's Will Smith. And I don't know what you take from that, but that's what I think contributes to the fact that this is going to be a major news story because it involves such major people.
So let me also say this, and this is the last thing I'm going to say on this before I go to my next story. And that is, I've got a couple of more stories before we end the show. Some of y'all in the chat saying, well, I'm tapping out till you cover some real news. First, we've been covering real news. First, we've been covering real news all day. The reality is, it is breaking news. Others are saying that, well, Roland, you shouldn't be covering this. Here's why y'all are wrong. The reason you're wrong is because, see, if we don't cover this, go to 7, if we don't cover this, then the voices that you are going to hear framing this largely don't look like me. And then the voices that you hear framing this and discussing this, those individuals, then they get to control what the narrative is. Now, see, I know some of y'all are sitting here saying, well, I hear you, but guess what, y'all? The viewer count on our YouTube page has increased since we started this story.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I just want y'all to understand. Monday, we had nearly 10,000 live viewers on YouTube alone because they want to hear this story. And we discussed it in the first hour. The moment I went to a break on Monday, we lost 3,000 viewers between going to break and coming back from break to begin our second hour. So one, you got to understand that. But here's also why I need you to understand why perspectives matter. And that is the same segment that we did on Monday, breaking down what we call the deconstruction of what happened. We then posted that video the next day on our YouTube channel. And I looked up the stats earlier. As a matter of fact, I'm going to see if I can pull it up right now. Here it is. I want y'all to look at, you should be able to pull this up. It says, this video is appealing to a wider audience, contributing to 73% more views than usual. That deconstruction video that we did, where we offered a sound, reasonable, thoughtful discussion on what happened, it has gotten 56,849 views since published. Now, first of all, it's actually more than that. But it says that in terms of referrals, but it says your videos typically receive 8,000 to 32,000 in this same time frame. It's gotten 38,662 recommendations. That particular video, y'all, last I checked, has received, let's see here, 1.3 million views. 1.3 million views. And so that's important, again, because if we as Black-owned media, if we are not establishing the framework of the conversation, somebody else is. Right. And so I am willing, y'all can talk all you want to, but I am willing to keep talking about it as long as we are framing it properly. Even the segment I did last night where I talked about don't fall for the okie doke, Team Will and Team Chris, that's already exceeded 100,000 views. And they were, in fact, and I got to go ahead and do this. Yeah, I know I did not want to have to, I didn't want to go this deep into this here. But you know, I really, it bothers me when people say dumb stuff. It really bothers me when they say dumb stuff. Like, it actually pisses me off when they say dumb stuff. I had there's a state official in Texas She's a state rep. She actually had some words for me on her Facebook page where she thought she was calling me out. Give me on one. She thought she was calling me out. And she had the nerve to say on her Facebook page, and she said this here, sharing my comment from another thread which said we shouldn't take sides on the issue and should be both Team Will and Team Roland. Nope, this is not Switzerland, Roland Martin. Time to pick the side of right. We can't just say the white man or the media is the reason for this fallout. Both of these men have millions of fans of all races who care about them, but it was only Will Smith who committed the battery against another black man who was simply doing his job. Blah, 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 blah. Come back. I just want y'all to know, if you look at this here, go back, that it's Sean Theory who said that. Now, some of y'all may be looking at me saying, well, Ro, who the hell is Sean Theory? Well, this is her Twitter page. Sean Theory is a Texas state representative. She follows me on Twitter. So I was sent Sean's comments, and yes, I had to respond. And this is what I said, because see, this putting in perspective why y'all need to understand why black media matters, black-owned media matters. I said, it's always wise for some folks to check their facts before they ever mention my name. Otherwise, I'm going to drop some CVS long receipts on you. Today, that means you, Texas Representative Theory. She posted on her Facebook page the following comments. I said, let me handle this now. And I did. I said, first, Representative Theory, I'm not Switzerland. I made my position on the Will Smith slap very clear on Monday, link attached. That video has gotten 1.3 million views on YouTube. I also warned folks not to fall for the Academy's CYA attempt, link attached. I then said to Representative Theory, second, if you actually listened to my segment last night, I warned black folks not to fall for the spin to try and blame Will Packer for asking Will Smith to stay. Now, what I warned folks about the okie doke is exactly what you are doing, Representative Theory. I am laying out the media games of shifting the narrative and trying to force us to pick sides. We should be Team Will and Team Chris. We should care about both. So actually watch and listen to what I said. And if y'all scroll down here, you'll notice she ain't responded. I think those CVS receipts did the trick. Folks, never ever go to we should move on if you don't understand how media has always controlled the conversation and controlled the narrative, and the media's framing of a story has the ability to shift public opinion one way or the other. No, I will not be sitting this out because I'm not going to let them shift and control the narrative. And that's why we have black-owned media. When we come back, we're going to hear from Dr. Cecilia Rouse about the economic numbers that came out today. Then we're going to talk to the sister who's running for state superintendent in Georgia. I told y'all, down ballot races matter. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black black media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland. Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? All right, folks, big jobs reports came out today. The federal government report shows the U.S. economy added 431,000 jobs in March. That brings the unemployment rate to a new pandemic-era low of 3.6%. The job gains were lower than economists had expected, but they still rounded up a solid first quarter for the U.S. labor market. President Joe Biden says that job creation has been at an all-time high since he has been in office.
Over the course of my presidency, our recovery has now created 7.9 million jobs. More jobs created over the first 14 months of any presidency in any term ever. And that's striking. But what's even more striking is this. In March, the unemployment rate fell to 3.6%, down from 6.4% when I took office about 15 months ago. The fastest decline in unemployment to start a president's term ever recorded. In fact, there have been only 3 months in the last 50 years where the unemployment rate of America is lower than it is now.
All right, the U.S. economy is now just 1.6 million jobs short of where it was in February of 2020 before the pandemic hit. Earlier today, I talked to Dr. Cecilia Rouse, the chair of the President's Council of Economic Advisors. Here is what she had to say about today's jobs report and the state of the U.S. economy.
All right, this is Dr. Cecilia Rouse. Big Friday for the economy, for the White House. Surely, as the top economic voice for the president, you must feel pretty good today.
Well, today was a day when we got the jobs report, and it was a good day because it reaffirmed the strength that we believe we were seeing in the U.S. economy, where since we learned that in March, the economy created an additional 400,000 jobs, which means that over the last 3 months, we've created over 500,000 jobs per month. So this has been a very strong economy, largely thanks to the American Rescue Plan, the effectiveness of our management of the pandemic, supporting households, supporting businesses, and it reflects that we've got a resilient economy that is positioned to weather the shocks that may come in the future.
It's been very interesting as we've been looking at how this has been unfolding, and it's not just the jobs reports that come out when we also have the adjustments made when it comes to the job reports. I remember last year, I guess it was November and December, and folks were like, "Oh my God, this report is so awful," and I was sitting there going, "Yeah, I might want to breathe." And then 2 months later, then it was adjusted. And so just share with people why it's important for some folks to pump the brakes on the initial numbers and understand that that's just, again, the initial. Things also change as you get more data.
Absolutely. So I won't go even further than that. So at the Council of Economic Advisors, we say every month, we study every month and we think about every month and try to understand what's happening in any 1 month. We don't like to focus on 1 month for that reason, which is that these data are the initial read. There will be a revision to these data. For example, the Bureau of Labor Statistics has added up. They've looked back on January, February, and combined in those 2 months, they've said actually the economy added an additional 95,000 jobs in those 2 months. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they said when they briefed us yesterday that the response rate, they don't have all of their data in yet. They will have additional data that they will have in. They will revise upward or downward, but they will revise their estimate next month as well and the month after. In addition, these are estimates of the economy, and so they use techniques to try to understand what is happening that's usual or not unusual in any 1 month. And what you're referring to is that in January, they did a whole look back on how they benchmarked, and how they do adjustments for population because they had the new census. And they made some adjustments to their estimates going back over all of 2021 as well. So what we like to look at are trends, and what we can see in this labor market is that the trends have been solid. Over the course of the past year, this economy has added 7.9 million jobs. That's in the 14 months since the president took office. We've seen a robust improvement in the labor force participation rate. If you want to look at Black Americans, at the height of, or the depths of the pandemic in May 2020, the unemployment rate was 16.8%, and today it's down to about 6.2%. That's a number. I don't want to focus specifically on the 6.2, but the change is dramatic and reflects the strength of this economy.
I was watching a conversation take place on a clip that was on Fox Business, and they were complaining that, oh my God, but we don't have enough people in the workforce, and these increasing wages is what's contributing to inflation. I never realized that an increase in wages was bad.
Well, look, we fundamentally want to see workers being paid according to their productivity. And we want families and workers to be paid their fair wage so they can put food on the table, pay their rent. So we welcome wage increases that are based on productivity increases and that truly reflect the increase and what workers are contributing to the employers. The reason why they're worried about it is because wages are a component of a business's costs. And so the concern is, does that get passed on? Well, the wage increases we've seen to date have been in low-wage workers whose wage increases have actually been higher than inflation. At the moment, it looks as though these are wage increases that reflect the supply and demand mismatch, which is part of working our way through the pandemic. We are keeping our eye on this. At the moment, we don't think it's being baked in a way that's not sustainable, but it is something we are quite attuned to.
So explain in layman's terms, and I'm always trying to use my show as Civics 101 for folks to understand where we are. And even at the news conference today, reporters were shouting to the president, what about inflation? What about inflation? And just give folks an understanding of really why we are at the point now with inflation. I have my own view, and that is we had companies that were that were nailed significantly economically in 2020 and 2021. You're seeing price increases because they're trying to make up all the money that they lost. And bottom line is this year, when you've had supply chain demands, we still have it, where you have a robust people want goods and services, but you don't have enough and you're not making enough. Guess what? The cost of goods are actually going to go up.
So, look, we've seen inflation around the world, and it reflects that economies that could afford to do so, governments that could afford to do so, supported their workers and their businesses through the depths of the pandemic, so that the workers and their families and the businesses had the funds to continue to buy foods, buy goods, to continue making those purchases that they felt they needed to make. At the same time, though, so we had demand was supported. At the same time, what we learned through the pandemic is that the supply was challenged. It was challenged because those very same workers who were, might have been affected by COVID, or in China, they closed down factories, were unable to keep up with the demand. When you have a supply-demand mismatch, so you have too much demand chasing the limited supply, as you pointed out, you're going to have price increases. Americans bought more goods than is typical. Those goods have to be shipped. They have to be built, they have to be shipped, they have to be transported over land to be put into stores or delivered to one's house. And we had record amounts going through our ports, and the system couldn't quite keep up with the robust demand. That will work itself out. But on top of that, we have the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And what that means is that Russia is a major supplier of gas and oil to the world, a little less so for the US, but for the world. So what we've seen is an increase in gas prices and in oil prices. And that not only is affecting prices at the pump, but it's finding its way into other goods as well. So that price increases the president is focused on, he is trying to address. That's why he did the release of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve yesterday, to try to get more oil supply onto the global market. But fundamentally, it is the pandemic and now it is the war that's underlying this inflation.
So the next step here, and that is when you look at these economic numbers, when you look at these job numbers, look, they're supposed to be good, but when you look at poll numbers, they are down. I know you're all about the numbers, but the messaging of what is happening with the economy is also important. So, what is that conversation taking place in the White House, and how do you convey this to the American people? What's going on? Because what I'm seeing in numbers, in poll numbers, is completely different than when you look at what's actually happening with the economic numbers.
You know, it's been a really hard 2 years, Roland, and the president gets it. He is so thrilled that Americans are back to work. We have an economy that's on the move. And that's been so important to him. We know we're not done yet. There's still work to be done. We're still about 93% of the jobs that we lost in the course of the pandemic have been regained. But there's still people who are out of the labor force who were working before. So we know that there is still work to be done. But he is thrilled that those who want to work are able to get a job. But he gets it. This has been hard, and inflation hits families in their pocketbooks. It's no fun when you go to the grocery store and the price of a gallon of milk or a pound of hamburger or the price of a gallon of gas at the pump is more than your one's used to paying, which is why he is focused on addressing the supply chains, trying to lower costs for families through his economic policies, and trying to address the prices at the pump. So, I think it's been a hard 2 years, but the good news is if we continue to manage this pandemic, we will get to the other side of it and resume our normal lives.
All right, Dr. Cecilia Rouse, always good to see you. Thanks a bunch for breaking it all down for us.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Just so y'all know, again, the top economic person is a sister. Dr. Cecilia Rouse is a brilliant sister. She also was one of the economic advisors under President Barack Obama, but she is the chief economic advisor. All right, y'all, going to a quick break. We come back, we're going to talk about an important race in Georgia. My next guest is running for a statewide school superintendent. Y'all, I keep telling you, Congress, president, all that stuff is important, but who controls our schools is also important. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens. On the next Get Wealthy, meet Dr. Stacy McCoy, whose American dream became a nightmare because of student loan debt.
Whether you're paying $300 a month or eventually I got up to $1,700 a month.
Wait a minute. Hold that for just a minute. You were paying $1,700 a month on your student loans?
Yes, and I know other people who are paying more than that.
Learn the one piece of advice that made all of it go away. Right here on Get Wealthy on Black Star Network.
All right, folks, every election matters, every single one. About the state school superintendent, not necessarily for a lot of people a sexy race, but when it comes to who controls what's happening in our schools, it does matter. We often talk about Tennessee and Texas and others trying to change textbooks. Education is one of the top targets. We saw that last year in Virginia when they began to target school boards of a critical race theory. We can go on and on and on. In Georgia, 5 candidates, they're running to unseat the incumbent, Richard Woods, for state superintendent. Alicia Thomas-Searcy is one of them. She joins me now from Atlanta. Alicia, glad to have you here. You have been very much involved in education, working in the charter school space and others. Just walk people through who have no idea what a state school superintendent does.
Thank you for having me on, Roland. And thank you for saying, first and foremost, how important this race is. The state school superintendent is responsible for managing the State Department of Education and laying out all of the rules from the State Board of Education. And so, as you also may remember, I'm a former state legislator. I served in the Georgia House of Representatives for 12 years. And when I passed laws that were related to education, the Department of Education and the State Board had to promulgate rules that then were pushed out to the schools to have to implement. So the state superintendent is one of the most critical roles in education because they are leading the state schools. They're helping to set policy. And even more important than that, when the policies and laws are passed, they're responsible for setting those rules and giving guidance to those school districts.
And so obviously Georgia, red, somewhat purple state. This is going to be a huge election. Obviously, Senator Raphael Warnock trying to get reelected. You've got Republicans who are trying to rally behind Herschel Walker. You've got Stacey Abrams going to be running for running against whoever wins, likely Brian Kemp. There's going to be a lot of interest, and also those two could have significant coattails that could help you or one of the other candidates. Now, first off, there are 5 folks who are running. Is there a primary, or is there an open run?
Yes, there's a primary on May 24th for both parties. And of course, whoever wins the primary faces the other party in the general in November.
So, are there any other African Americans who are running for state school superintendent?
Yes, I am the only Black woman, however.
Okay. All right, then. And so it's going to be, a lot of the teachers are going to be on Georgia, and we expect a massive turnout in the state.
Yes, and you're right. When you talk about my Spelman sister, Stacey Abrams, my Morehouse brother, Raphael Warnock, they're going to lead the ticket, and I frankly think lead the state. But it's going to get a lot of interest. People care a lot about Georgia, and as we know, the balance of the U.S. Senate hangs with Georgia, right? So who wins this U.S. Senate election matters, and every other policy at the federal level matters based on who wins in Georgia. And so the stakes are extremely high. And Roland, I would argue that when it comes to education in the state of Georgia and frankly around the country, education ought to be right up there. Families around this country and obviously in Georgia are talking about what they want in our education system. And we still have fights here. Today, we had the legislature pass 3 bills. You talked about Virginia. There's a playbook happening in this country, and Republicans are playing it. And so they're trying to ban certain types of books, ban the type of conversations you can have about race in classrooms. The Parents' Bill of Rights, that if you actually read the bill, it sounds like it's going to be a big deal, but it's frankly just reinstating all of the rights that parents already have. But Republicans have figured out that if we engage parents, if we talk about how they need to be empowered and they need to have more decision-making in classrooms and what's being taught, then they get fired up. And so Republicans have learned that, and they're trying to turn them out. And the key is turning out our people and making sure that the right people get in office, because it's just too important right now when we think about the quality of education, or sometimes the lack thereof, in too many of our schools.
Questions from my panelists. Let's see. I'll start with Matt.
Well, good evening, and thank you for coming on and elucidating us as to what's going on in your campaign. And the question I had for you is, what do you find as the primary issue facing Georgia students now that when you get elected, you'll have to address day one?
So I'm going to answer that in 2 ways. First and foremost, I think the biggest problem is how we politicized education. When we are dividing ourselves, who supports charters and who doesn't. Who's supposed to talk about CRT and who's not. At the end of the day, I sympathize with teachers, and I would argue that's probably one of the most critical issues. Teachers are burned out. They are tired. They need mental health support. We've asked teachers to do way too much in the last couple of years without any real resources. I think about the fact that teachers have had to teach virtually first without any real training. How it is that in 2022, we don't provide the teachers the support that they need to learn how to teach in an age of technology is beyond me. And so I actually had a town hall meeting last night with teachers across the state. And it was heart-wrenching to hear their frustration, their sadness, how disconnected they feel. They don't feel like we respect the profession anymore. And so if we don't get it right for teachers, if we don't pay attention to what they need, how are we expecting education to work in our state?
Let's see here. Kelly.
Sure. So in that same vein, what does the ideal educational system look like for you? And how do you plan on getting the state of Georgia to reflect that plan as closely as possible?
That's always, the complex question that requires a complex answer. And let me say, as a former superintendent, so I served in the legislature 12 years, served as a superintendent for 3 years, and I can tell you what worked in the schools that I led. First and foremost, starting with having excellent school leaders. All of the adults that are standing in front of our children have to have high expectations for them. I don't care if you're in a charter school, a traditional, magnet, whatever it is, you have to have adults who have high expectations for kids. Time out for, well, they're poor, they have social issues, we can't teach them. No, we've got to make sure that those high expectations exist for all children. Secondly, we do have to acknowledge that kids are coming into our schools with some real challenges. And as much as we like to just let them come in and shut the doors and say, forget what's happening out there, that's not the reality that we face. And so one of the things that I like in Fulton County here in Georgia, there's a school that has what's called a safe center, where students who are having a bad day, as an example, can come in and get some mental health support. They have tutors in the room who also make sure that they get their work done. They have a clothing closet for their parents, so if they have a job interview and need something to wear, they have that. And then they do a food pantry on the weekend to make sure that those families have the support that they need. And so it's wraparound services. It's excellent school leaders. It's well-prepared, well-resourced, respected teachers, again, who are standing in front of our students. And it's a curriculum that is culturally relevant. It's unbelievable to me that we are talking about what we're teaching and what we're not teaching in terms of history in this country, when we ought to be talking about making sure that the curriculum that they get is culturally relevant. And then finally, I would say, I also want to spend some time talking to stakeholders when I become state school superintendent. Because as I talked to my daughter, who's a 9th grader, she was having a conversation with my mom about, what school looked like, back in the day. And as my mom described to her essentially the same educational environment that she is in 2022, I thought about the fact that if you were to Google what a school looked like in the 1700s, it looks exactly like it does today in 2022. And so I believe that we have to reimagine what public education looks like, because if we're trying to give a telegram education to a TikTok generation, we are sadly mistaken.
Michael.
All right, Sister Alicia, thanks for coming on today. So can you talk about, in this climate of anti-critical race theory laws being passed in various states, and this push, and you have white parents showing up at school board meetings acting a fool over something that's not even taught in schools. How does this play into the curriculums that you're going to help shape, and how history, especially the history of Reconstruction, is being taught in schools in Georgia? We know Georgia's a former Confederate state. So how does all that come together under a Alicia Thomas Searcy administration?
It's a great question. I think you first hit the nail on the head that CRT is not being taught in our schools. And if you ask Republicans to even define what is CRT, they cannot tell you. That's a problem. So first, it's acknowledging that this is really just a distraction. This is something out of a playbook. When politicians don't have any solutions to solve problems, they come up with distractions. And that's what this whole CRT conversation is. What concerns me, though, is the fact that there are teachers in school districts today who are fearful about teaching just the basics of American history, just the basics of our state standard that does require them to talk about Reconstruction. It does require them to talk about slavery and the civil rights movement and Jim Crow, and of course, the contributions of African Americans in our country. And so what does that mean for a state school superintendent? It's understanding what the law says. It's understanding what the process is in terms of what the State Board of Education does and the rules that they promulgate. And it's having the knowledge, the wherewithal, the wisdom, and the savviness to provide guidance for school districts so that they understand the difference between what's politics and what's necessary to teach in our classrooms. And so as superintendent, with the background that I have, I would make sure that districts are in fact teaching what is in the Georgia standards, which are all of those topics that we just talked about. and frankly, moving it in the other direction, which is making sure that even more of our curriculum is culturally relevant.
All right, thank you.
All right, then. Well, look, we appreciate it. Everybody got their questions in, right? Yeah, everybody got their questions in. All right, we appreciate it, Alicia. Good luck, and we'll certainly be watching this race to see what happens there in Georgia.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
All right, thanks a bunch. All right, folks, that's it for us. But before we go, first of all, let me shout out to Matt, Michael, Kelly for being with us. Man, it's a whole lot of stuff that we've covered today, as we always do. And so I appreciate y'all being on the panel. And I don't know who sent me, somebody sent me this Winston-Salem State hoodie. I appreciate it. There was no note, there was no card in it. So I have spoken to the university before. And so y'all know, I only rock HBCU gear where I've actually visited the campus. And so that's always important. Let me also give a shout out, my girl, Kim Bond, Coach Kim Bond. She was one of the assistant basketball coaches at Texas A&M. They hired somebody else to actually be the head basketball coach there. She sent me a text message earlier. She actually hit me up while we were on the air. Let me see if I can blow this up down here. All right, y'all, because trust me, the formatting is off. And so she just got hired as the head basketball coach at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale. And she said, look who I ran into today while I was there. And so shout out to the chancellor at Southern Illinois, Austin Lane. He's the former president at Texas Southern University. He's now the chancellor there. And so a great shout out to him. I was texting him. He's a phenomenal brother. He did a great job there. The TSU people screwed up letting him leave and running him away, but that's what happens. What, Matt? What's up?
Can I shout out my boy today? My son is 12 years old. My son, Stoney. Just want to wish him happy birthday. Love you, son. Happy birthday to Stoney. All
right. Matt shouting out his son, who's a future alpha. All right, then. So, yeah, shout out to Austin Lane, Lauren Lane. But, again, Coach Bond at SIU, congratulations to you. And let's see, Kelly, you got a shout-out. Michael, you got a shout-out since Matt, doing shout-outs. Y'all got something?
My son, man. No shame in that.
I got you. I let you do it. It's all good.
Appreciate you, brother.
Shouting out the makers of this amazing Bowie State hoodie. Anything Bowie State I pick up, it's by Gaines. Yes, Gaines.
Lord, you might want to know who the hell it's from before you read it.
No, I had it and then I forgot it, but it's on the shoulder. But I will post it in my Twitter so that everybody can go and get one. Right. They already sold out. So when the next thing drops, y'all need to get yours.
All right, Michael, go ahead with your shout out. Come on, you got something.
I want to shout out you, Roland Martin, and the Bring the Funk fan club for funding Black-owned media and the stories that you've covered this week, especially with Black News Channel going bankrupt and being off the air. You're covering stories that mainstream media is not covering. So I want to give a shout out to you and the Bring the Funk fan club that is financing this as well.
Yes, indeed. So absolutely. So we appreciate that. And so before I tell y'all what happened last night, so I don't know about y'all, Matt, Michael, and Kelly. Let me ask y'all this question: have y'all ever experienced being at a workplace and put something in the refrigerator and somebody else eat or drink your stuff? Y'all ever experienced that? Matt, you ever experienced that?
I might have done it if I'm honest.
Man, let me tell you something, dog. I came to work today. I had some leftover food yesterday from Cheesecake Factory. I had a business meeting. And so I was like, no, I said, I ain't going to eat at the house. I'm going to come in here. Oh, yeah, Ariel. Oh, yeah. Ariel, let me explain something to you, Ariel. Everything might come on the air. Ask Henry. Oh. We were at TV One, and Henry made a comment, like in the back of the studio, that I didn't know you couldn't put aluminum foil in the microwave. Now, he said he was joking. I heard it on the set, and yes, I came back live and talked about it. He had his family members calling, Petey, how you didn't know you couldn't put no aluminum foil in the microwave? So I came in here. I said, yo, I'm going to heat up my food. I said, I got a cold bottle of Snapple in the refrigerator. How I walked.
The disappointment.
I'm talking, no. I'm talking about, look, I felt like Della Reese in Harlem Nights when she was like, she said, where's the goddamn orange juice in the hash? You see there was orange juice in the hash in here, got my mouth all set with some orange juice in the hash. I'm sitting there like, yo, I'm about to heat my food up, get me my cold bottle of Snapple. Why I walk to the refrigerator? We got 2 refrigerators, y'all. 2 refrigerators. 2 refrigerators. Matter of fact, since we live right now, let me show y'all this here. I'm about to go ahead and show, y'all got the camera? Follow me here. Man, follow me here. I hope it goes over here. Man, I come in here. Y'all tell me if the picture goes out. Man, I come in here. 2 refrigerators, y'all. I go to the refrigerator, to the top. See the refrigerators? I go to the top. No Snapple. No Snapple. Now I'm sitting there like, where in the hell is my Snapple? I come back, Ariel, who just started working here, she knew. Ariel goes, oh, I got it. My bad. She said, I thought I put it in there. I said, Ariel, how in the hell you put something in there?
You are not airing her out. Oh my God.
I said, Ariel. I said, Ariel, how you didn't know? Put me back on camera 1. I said, Ariel, how you didn't know? She said, well, no, I normally drink that, but I thought I put it in. I said, Ariel, do you remember putting it in? She was like, no. She said, oh, but it ain't, she goes, it ain't open yet. That's Ariel right there. She goes, it ain't open yet. So she walk in here with the Snapple, hot-ass bottle of Snapple. Must have been on her desk for like 4-5 hours. I'm sitting there thinking I got me a cold bottle of Snapple waiting on me for my lunch. Yeah, y'all, hey, right. Right. I was like, Aaron, are you serious? So we got a new rule now, y'all. We got 2 refrigerators in the kitchen. The left refrigerator, Ariel, is mine. The right refrigerator is for the rest of y'all. If y'all refrigerator fill up, y'all go to the bottom shelves and start there and come up. But leave the first 2 shelves, anything on the first 2 shelves is mine. Don't touch it. I'm sounding like my daddy. Look, don't touch what's on the first 2 shelves of the refrigerator. We straight? Now your whole family watching, now they know. They told you, girl, how you didn't know the leak? Y'all, she talking about, oh, I didn't even realize I didn't put it in there. You didn't buy it? How you? Man, anyway, okay. All right, y'all. I just had to go ahead and, let her know.
You feel better?
Yeah, I feel better. I feel fine.
Okay.
I feel fine. Now, y'all,
all right.
Now, y'all remember last night, I was shocked. Ariel, like, she's shocked right now. She like, damn, yeah, Ariel, this a black-ass show right here. This the blackest show you have ever, right. You ain't never seen this on ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN. No, this is black. This is black-owned media. So last night, y'all, we were on the show, and somebody texted me about saying, I can't believe you're not at the Jodeci Charlie Wilson New Edition concert. I was like, what? I was like, are you serious? I was like, damn, I didn't realize they were in town. So we sitting here, and I was like, man, I'm texting my boys. I'm sitting here, hitting them up, trying to figure out, and I'm like, then I tell Alex, hey man, take my phone. Alex, he over there, he calling them. I'm trying to get him on the line. And so we end the show last night. And so the staff, they were sitting, I cussed them out because they didn't even tell me they were in town. Carol Gant, who's the supervising producer, Carol, yeah, I'm calling names. No, thank you very much. Carol Gant, like, oh, I ain't realized we had a show. I said, Carol, I could have ran something to go to the damn concert. That's my folks. So I said, well, look, I'm gonna go ahead and just go on over there. I ain't had no ticket. I ain't had nothing, but I am the man. So I just rolled up in there, told him, I said, look, I'm here to see my boys. Just take me backstage. And yes, so to all of the security people at Capitol, what's that called? Capital One Arena? All y'all black. All y'all watch Roland Martin Unfiltered. So they walked me to backstage. I saw my boys. And so I sent the staff the photo y'all just saw right there, me right outside Uncle Charlie's dressing room. And so I got to see them. I got to see my boys, New Edition. We got a chance to talk. Johnny Wilson, Johnny Gill. I hollered at Serena Williams, their sister Isha Pierce last night with the Price. We had a great conversation as well. And so it was good to see everybody. It was all good. And so since Carol didn't tell nobody nothing, I'm going to go ahead and do this, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and just, and look, they couldn't go. They couldn't go with me. Because, see, y'all need to understand something. When you ain't got no ticket, you don't bring 2, 3 folks with you. I see, I know some of y'all are real black. Y'all got entourages. I know Kelly, Kelly, you probably be rolling with like you and Kelly be like, hey, Roland, I want to swing by. How many with you, Kelly? Me +5? Hell no.
Absolutely
It can't be
not.
6 of y'all. Black women known for that. Y'all be talking about me +5. No.
Absolutely not.
No, So I just told him, I said, look, can't nobody roll, but I got to guarantee one going to get in, that's me. So I got in. So Carol, since you love New Edition, Carol said she grew up in a Pentecostal house, and her mom and dad didn't let her listen to nothing but New Edition. It was New Edition, James Cleveland, and Shirley Caesar. And that's all she could listen to. And so I did this here. I shot a little video last night for Carol and the crew. Hey, my bad. Y'all couldn't roll with me, but I did bring a little new Edition for y'all. So y'all go ahead and experience just a little bit, y'all. Can You Stand the Rain? Go ahead. Should have seen Matt. Matt was over there singing. Matt was having some flashbacks to Can You Stand. Matt, I saw you, Matt. Matt, I see everything, Matt. Y'all, Matt was having some college flashback. Matt was like, Matt was even. He was about to do this, y'all. Matt was about to do this. Matt almost did this here, y'all. He almost went. I saw you, Matt. I saw you.
Yes, sir.
Oh, man. All right, y'all. I'm not going to play the whole video. I just want to go ahead and give y'all a little taste. If they come to town, They're going to be in North Carolina soon, so y'all, man, go check out my man, Uncle Charlie Wilson, New Edition, Jodeci. Maxwell, here tomorrow night. I'll be there. This time I got tickets. So Max, I appreciate that.
Good job.
So I call ahead, Max. So Maxwell, Anthony Hamilton, we got that. That's it for us, y'all. I appreciate everybody being with us. Great week. Thanks for checking everything out. All the folks who give to the show, man, y'all are doing a phenomenal job. I got to go home, open all them letters, the cash, them checks, and the money orders. But a lot of y'all been giving online as well. I'm going to do a shout out on Monday to all the people who have given in the last 24 hours. Right now, we always close the show out with our Bring the Funk fan club. I appreciate it. And right after the show, we're going to have our 5th part of our Ghana docuseries. Be sure to check it out. And then next week, we'll be debuting our Liberia coverage. So again, a lot of things happening here at Black Star Network. Y'all got to download the app. Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. That's it. All right, folks, we about to bounce. Y'all have a great weekend. Have a great April Fool's Day. I'm going to see y'all Monday.
Hang in there.